Why is the House of Commons so crowded? I have thought this for quite a while now, and I did some research, and I have come up with some answers. And I thought I'd share them with you, dear viewer. So if you look at the House of Commons, the lower house of Parliament in the United Kingdom, in Britain, it always looks very crowded, whether it's at the budget address or Prime Minister's questions or something along those lines. Whenever there's a large amount of MPs in the House, it always looks very cramped and overcrowded. As all of the MPs take their places on their benches and hardly any of them fit in. And the facts are, there are 650 MPs throughout Britain, and the House of Commons can only actually fit 427 at the maximum. So if you look at Prime Minister's questions or the Queen's speech or something, and there's a massive amount of them, you'll actually find that some of them are actually sitting in the walkways between the benches, or there's a large amount of them just standing on the floor. And it's quite incredible. So why, quite simply, why is the House of Commons not bigger? Why aren't there more benches? Why aren't there perhaps the more modern seats and desks that other parliaments have, such as Congress or the House of Reps here in Australia? And the answer, as all good answers can be found, are within Winston Churchill. Can you see that? No, you can't. Oh, hold on. There he is. Right there. Winston Churchill, because in the Second World War, Parliament was bombed, and the House of Commons actually had, I think, 2 bombs dropped on it, or at least 2 bombs, Westminster House of Commons. And so after the Second World War, the House of Commons was rebuilt and refurbished to what it is today. And Churchill had quite a large say in this rebuilding, and the designers asked, so do you want to make the House of Commons larger, to fit everyone in, so we can have a bit of a spacious parliament? And Churchill actually said no. He thought a crowded, smaller, more enclosing House of Commons was good, because it would keep the atmosphere electric and alive, and people would be giving their speeches in a more cramped and kind of atmospheric conditions, which will heighten their parliamentary success and their statesmanship. And kind of give it a much more bureaucratic feel to it. So Winston Churchill actually said, no, we will not increase the amount of space. We will keep it as it is. And that is why the House of Commons is so cramped and small, and not everyone can fit in it, not all the 650 MPs. And I actually think, I agree with him. I agree with Churchill, because quite frankly, not all the MPs have to be in there all the time. That would be crazy. Not every single day. The whole house needs to be completely filled with all the MPs. That would be insane. You only need the select MPs that are there or voting, or if you want to be there. So it's not always a massive amount of MPs in the chamber. So most of the time it doesn't really matter. And the times when it does matter, I completely am compelled by Winston's argument, by Churchill's argument. I think it gives it such a more dramatic, atmosphere, and I think the claustrophobic aspect really makes you think on your feet, and gets you going and keeps you going. And I look at the parliaments of France or America or Australia or around the world, India, and it's the modern, like the Senate and Congress. You've kind of got the speaker, and then you've got the circular thing of desks, and every parliamentarian would have, or every senator or representative in America would have their own seat, their specific seat, and they'd have their own desk, and they'd have their own papers, and everyone would be comfortable, and you'd sit back and you'd relax, and you'd watch the proceedings, and you'd stand up if you want to, and it'll be in a semicircle shape. I don't think this is good. I think the idea of having opposing benches where everyone sits next to each other, kind of crammed in like that, I think that gives Parliament a much better atmosphere and a much better parliamentary feel to it than sitting at your own desk and being relaxed. I would rather be in the debates. I would rather be kind of crowded around by my own people, so you can pat me on the back or whisper something over, or something like that, looking straight dead into the eyes of the opposition, to really fuel that debate. And then you've got, of course, the 2 dispatch boxes where you can come across and it's like a proper conversation. You're facing each other. In the semicircle layout of, say, Congress, that just doesn't happen. And when you're sitting by yourself in your own chair at your own desk, and you've got distractions and you've got things you can do when you're sitting there in one of the benches in Parliament, in Westminster. Your mind is always, not always, but it's a lot more suited for your mind to be on the debate and to what's happening. And if you've got people, jingling and sitting next to you and you're all crammed in a bit, that just adds so much more to it. A lot more than you get in Congress and sitting in your own chair. Anyway, there you go. That is why the House of Commons is so cramped, and why I think that's not a bad thing.